Today we're breaking down the real reasons sales teams don't adopt HubSpot and what you can do to fix it.
Because let's be honest here, guys, most sales reps hate CRMs. But look, honestly, it doesn't have to be that way. So today, we're going to break down for us how to get your sales team actually loving HubSpot, not actually fighting it. Oh my God.
Yeah, welcome to HubSpot Mentors. My name is Semih, and I'm here with the HubSpot Sensei, Richie.
What's going on, Semih? What's going on? Honestly, I've been following you guys for a long time, and it's just crazy to actually be on here. So looking forward to this conversation, man.
Yeah, great to have you on the team, man. I know it's been a couple of months now, so you fit right in. So glad to talk about some critical things that are going to affect those salespeople, right? So we've got about 7 main topics. I think we're going through what would be the most reasonable stuff, and we've got about 7 topics. What are they, Richie? Just a quick overview of it we're going to be covering today.
All right, we've got a couple of pain points here that both Semih and myself has faced as we were going through optimizations, right? So we've got HubSpot feels like admin. It's not something that actually helps these reps. That's number 1. Number 2, messy setups makes HubSpot hard to use. So we've got poor adoption there. Number 3, along the lines of no clear, consistent sales process. That's missing from the get-go. So if there's nothing there, how can they follow through? Number 4, no accountability or leadership follow through. We need buy-in from the top. How do we do that? Number 5, training was once off and not reinforced. We need both the carrot and the stick here for something as complex as HubSpot. Number 6, too many systems causing confusion. I totally get that. And number 7, no quick wins or immediate value for reps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. These are core elements. So we just want to lay that out in the beginning. And if you want to go through some of those topics, we're going to be going through them one at a time. But if you want to skip through to the area that is most relevant to you, just feel free to do that as you go through the chapters in this YouTube. So without wasting more time, let's go into the most important thing that we hear often, which is HubSpot feels like admin, not something that is going to help them. It's like admin work, right? Every salespeople hate doing that. And so just a quick pointer. Sales reps just want the fastest path. It's like think about like you pour water, down a hill or something, and you follow the water. It goes to the, quickest, fastest way possible. That's how salespeople are. We found out they want to find the path of least resistance. And so if HubSpot feels like a burden for them, they're not going to end up using it. Right?
Flow like water, my friend. Flow like water. Right. Exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. So other things is like if they think that HubSpot has extra clicks, they're not going to end up using it. I had a client before where they have a Rolls Royce of a HubSpot, right? Like really powerful software. They've been using it for years, but their BDM was using like Trello as an alternative because it wasn't customized enough for them. And so that was one big pain point that we realized, okay, great. Let's think about the team's process and how we can kind of fix that up. But yeah, absolutely. What other stuff you reckon that would add to the sales team feeling like they don't want to adopt HubSpot, Richie?
Man, I honestly feel like, given my experience as well, I feel like it really boils down to a certain extent to the company's culture as well. I think if the departments, if they're all aligned and they actually focus on one single outcome, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to get there needs to be some sort of alignment because, as you know, information flows from marketing to sales in such it's supposed to be a very seamless way, but oftentimes it gets disjointed. And I guess this falls down to administration work, right? And if the sales team understands the point of view of the marketers and the marketers vice versa, I think both departments will be able to be more synchronized. So for example, right, if marketing is generating leads and the sales team aren't actually logging anything in the system, how then we know what has converted, what has been touched on? Is there too much leads? Is it too little leads? Is the leads of good enough quality or not? Then it just becomes this whole Spider-Man meme, right? Of the different departments just pointing at each other, being like, hey, look, it's you. So look, I think company culture definitely needs to be embedded. And I know it's not a real technical thing, but I guess it's a very... Yeah, it's an adoption thing.
Adoption just doesn't necessarily mean HubSpot. It also means everything else that surrounds HubSpot, right? So
100%.
HubSpot's a tool, but everything else around that, all the tools, all the activities. So on that note, I think when we're going through, we made a realization that is, if you want true adoption, you need to have the information that's relevant for the sales rep in HubSpot are valuable for them, like key information. For example, if you're going to be watching YouTube, you don't go to Instagram, you go to YouTube to watch your YouTube videos, right?
That's right.
So
Well, you don't go to YouTube to like read articles, right? You want to go to YouTube to watch videos.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So the point here is make sure that the key information that's really relevant to your salespeople are only in HubSpot. Don't email them. I know that sounds a bit non-intuitive, but only keep that key information there. Have links to them so they remind them to be able to take an action, but make sure that everything gets funneled down to HubSpot because that's where the key information lives. Information is the currency of sales reps. The more information they know, the more they're able to support them with their role and have more adoption within HubSpot that we found.
I think that leads on to the next point, which is an excellent segue here, right? It's like a messy setup, right? A messy setup makes HubSpot just so hard to use, and that goes directly to your point. Where is the information being captured now? If they have to log into somewhere else to then fill out that information, and it's not in HubSpot, then what's the point?
Yeah, 100%. It's just those little details, like when you're going through, put yourselves in their shoes, right? They're going through trying to fill that information in. Just the simplest thing that bugs me, right, is when you have like the address and then you skip city or like the suburb and then you go into like, state, New South Wales, and then have city underneath that, right? Like
And then it's all the way
it's
at the
on the bottom, right? So you're like, I made it ready for you, but here it is. But then, they're like, okay, you go follow the Google Maps like process approach that everyone's familiar with, but the suburb is not there and they're going to go scroll through trying to find it. That's the stuff that really pains and annoys. It's just the simple things that annoys them, right? And that's what would make sales rep feel like the HubSpot's messy in one instance. What are some other ways, Richie?
I think definitely a big one is I think salespeople always have this one end goal in mind, right? They always, their key objective there is to sign the contract. Sign the contract, big boy, sign the contract. That's what they want to do. So what is it along this journey that we can help the reps to actually facilitate that? And one of the big things is if at the end of the day you've got a Quilla document, a PandaDoc, a DocuSign, or whatever it is, I'm sure there are going to be fields in there for them to actually fill up. They're going to repeat the same thing over and over again. Of course, there are things like first name, last name, email. We get that. But for brokers, or depending on your industry, it could be driver license number or your something number, right? All these things should be properties in a very clear central location, which is your HubSpot CRM, for them to go through and then using conditional logic, using kind of the mandatory fields as you attempt to move deals across different stages, that would then incentivize and remind the reps to say, hey, look, it's time for you to capture these things. Do it anyways. It's going to help you save time. Instead of double entering on the final close one stage, it'll help you to populate that at the end of the day. So
yeah,
that's one.
Super powerful, man. Super powerful. Like I think, and just going back to that thing, it feels messy because they're trying to find information all over the place, right? One key tool that I'm in love with at the moment is like utilizing HubSpot Playbooks in like key areas of HubSpot that's going to allow the information being pulled in available for the sales rep, right? Honestly, very powerful tool. There's so much things you can do with that. Even if you're in the pro version, there's still available. I know the enterprise version has those options where you can update properties, which is amazing. But even the pro version gives you that streamlined approach where you're trying to gather that information all in one click. So like, hey, this is your pitch. This is your approach that you're going to be taking. Make sure you ask these questions. Here's a playbook. Click on it. It's right here. That's it. So instead of them looking at when was this person come from here, they open up their company record. When was the last activity we did, or where did they came from? Like it just gets messy, right? So if you put all that information in a playbook and then have that information available with prompts to be able to ask that question, this just one simple tip gives them so much, ease of use. They know that they need to go to HubSpot to find that information in a playbook, right? Super simple.
Man, you are a very big advocate of playbooks, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about playbooks more than Master Semih here. So honestly, that I'm so interested to learn a little bit more about that as well. It's something definitely underutilized in my repertoire. But what's amazing about Red Pandas is that every one of us have our own unique kind of inkling of I like this tool better than this. This is my own fancy way of doing a workaround or implementing it to a certain client. So this is a perfect segue again, talking about playbooks. I think that's about having a consistent sales process, and Playbooks is a huge part of that. So Semih, what have you done with Playbooks, and talk a little bit more about that one?
Yeah, so just on that note, like going to that clear process, especially like I think telesales team or even BDMs and stuff. You might be like, I don't know what they need it for, but like having playbooks in place that's going to get prompted in the right time is super key. But even more important than that is having a clear process that playbook is gonna fit into, right? So you don't want to have like it's just like those team players, soccer team players, right? Or like support sports people. Like it's a team sport, right? At the end of the day, BDMs, and so you don't want to have one person that's playing soccer and the other one that's playing basketball. It just does not make sense. So we want to make sure that everyone's in the same team and have the same game plan and strategy in place. And your deal pipelines and your lead pipelines and stuff, they're all that strategy, high level strategy to know how to move things across in the right place. And playbooks and sequences and prospecting tool and all these different tools that you have in your arsenal that you can be like, hey, I need this for this one, I need that for that bit, I need this for here, right? But everything flows through that high level consistent sales pipeline approach. That's going to allow the BDMs to know where their deal's at, what action to take next. It's going to allow the telesales team to ask the right questions to be able to pass it on. It's also going to allow the ownership or like business leaders to know, okay, cool, what are some areas we can remove to make it more efficient or add things to make it more qualifying, add more restriction in there. So yeah, I think it's super important that we have those. And I think customer journey map, we're big advocates for it. We talk about it all the time. It's just that having the sales rep have an input in that journey process if you don't have any and when you're building it out is absolutely fundamental to be able to get them using HubSpot, because I feel like they take ownership of what that process looks like. And it's really...
Oh boy, the last thing you want to do is kind of like throw them under the bus as well, right? In the beginning stage, as we're scoping out a particular optimization or for an onboarding, we have our own kind of, I guess, best practice. And then we hear inputs from management typically when we initiate projects like this. But then it's great to, at various points and strategic points in the onboarding lifecycle, for us to actually involve the end users, get their own personal inputs, and they'll actually tie into the next couple of points we're going to talk about. But that's a great point. We have to get them involved and feeling like they're a part of and contributing to this whole new optimization piece of work.
Yeah, not only optimization, but like in general, you should seek their feedback. I know it might like 1 or 2 minutes, and like especially business are like, oh, I'd rather get them involved early on. Like that's the whole key here, right? Get their input early on, because they might give you some insights that they do that you're not aware of. That's like, they might be like that, you don't know that they're performing at a really high level. You got HubSpot now, you can see that stuff, but then you're like, hey, I want to be able to get that information and put it into my customer journey map. So what are you actually doing? So get them early involved so that they can pass that information over to you, or you can customize and adjust that stuff based on their feedback. Very important.
And because the worst thing ever is we get to the end of the project and then they just reject it. They're like, this doesn't make sense at all. This is not what I do in real life. Like, this is not how I sell. Yeah. Oh boy, we're in a heap of mess then.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So the other one is no account. And then this is a tough one for those leaderships, but it's point number 4, which is no accountability or leadership to follow through on the changes that's been proposed and that's been done, or reinforcing the things that need to get done in HubSpot. It's not a one-way sport. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just expect your salespeople to use HubSpot and you sit back and don't do anything in HubSpot, right? It's expected that you have that approach towards it. You're the one that's obviously spending money and talking to leaders here in using HubSpot. So it's really important that as a leader, you're taking the initiative and look at the things and support them with their HubSpot usage and adoption, specifically around that, right? So it's like, hey, talk me through, what does that look like? So talk me through how you're using HubSpot. Okay, looks like you got stuck here. This is the reason why reports aren't coming through here. So let's look at how we can improve that, right? And then you appoint someone to then look at that specific problem. But that needs to come from you, because the sales reps aren't thinking about that. They're just getting frustrated day-to-day usage.
all the sales rep cares about is, doing their job, getting the numbers that you impose on them. But I guess that goes back to the whole thing of, from the top down, it needs to be very, very clear what is the expectations of the sales rep from leadership, right? What does my manager expect of me? And if that's very clearly articulated, not just verbally, but then molded into HubSpot language in terms of, these are the number of activities that you need to log, and therefore, because of that, this is the report I'm going to be looking at every single day to monitor. And again, this is not about being big brother, right? It is kind of to a certain extent, but it's about accountability and making sure that, hey, look, if we historically have, again, typical numbers, 30% conversion rate, you need to have your pipeline full. You need to be making these calls in order, if not, you're just not going to hit your numbers. So having that nice balance between it being a scary kind of, hey, track everything inside of HubSpot, but also, look, it's here to help you do your job better, which is why I kind of like, if an organization has sales enablement teams or an individual, this is where they'll be involved in the process as well. I really love those. I actually started from a position of being a HubSpot, a sales enablement sort of role, and that's where you really embraced a system like HubSpot to help your managers incorporate and sell better.
Yeah, I think communication is super important too, and I think like re-emphasizing on that point is like, there's no plan B. Right? You have to be clear with them. You have to be like, look, I don't care how you get there, right? All I need to make sure that we hit our goals and we make sure that the business is growing, I need you to report this activity, right? This thing, this note, this playbook, this thing specifically. Don't try to introduce everything, because they're going to be like, this is too much, right? Just focus on those key things that's going to drive things across. And if you let them know, then you can show them, to get to this, then you can use, activity login here. You can use activity login extension, which is going to be the feature by the way. But activity login here, you can do your activity login there, and you can make a call here, and that will pull through here. They're interested in that stuff because everyone works differently. But ultimately, it funnels down to that data for you to then be able to see, right? And so that's why it's really important.
That brings up something that was actually I found quite funny a couple of weeks ago, which is the reps are using HubSpot to a certain extent, but guess what, Semih? They're logging everything as notes, right? So I'm just like, okay, like you're already doing stuff on HubSpot. You're logging it as notes, great. But let me just ask you a question then. How do you differentiate what that note was about? Like, is it actually a call? Is it actually a meeting? Like, there's so many things that could potentially be a note. Like, you could be, hey, I've uploaded an attachment. Hey, guy, ping at X person. I have done this for you, by the way, next step. It could be a task. So many things. So it's funny that they're using HubSpot already to a certain extent, but then just not pressing the right buttons, which is why I guess deeper education or just a slight little nudge. It could also be a thing, not just total, missing of adoption.
100%. But it all starts with the leadership, right? The leadership, leadership needs to make sure that that's clear with them, right? And honestly, I started doing this in my training sessions with my clients. Is like, I go through the room, I go, hey, what are you expecting from this training session in HubSpot? And I specifically don't go to the leader first. I get them. I go to like maybe one or two people first, and then I go to the the leader who's engaged us to be able to help them optimize the project. I'm like, okay, cool, Mr. XYZ, can you tell me what do you expect from the team or from HubSpot for you specifically, right? And those salespeople that are really hungry for growth or that really want to help the business out or be able to make those commissions and stuff are really have the opportunity to listen directly from the leader to understand what is it they're looking for within HubSpot, and so they can align them to them. And so that's a key important element that I started doing my calls, especially training calls, and that's super important. I think the ability to just hear it in a group setting, what's important is just it just doesn't happen for some reason, man.
Put them on the spot, man. Put them on the spot. Exactly right. Which is number 5, right? Which is training was once off and not reinforced. I think the whole topic that you're talking about before, Semih, was about point number 5 here. So that's a great point. I also have recently readjusted my approach slightly, right? It's quite similar to what you were doing, where I kind of put it on them. So by first hearing how the team are currently using HubSpot, if anything at all, I kind of get to sit back and put myself in their shoes directly and understand what's important to them. I kind of look at their cursor and say, okay, he's he or she is going more towards the context, they're using properties. Okay, they're for some reason manually filtering things out. Okay, they're not using views for some reason. Okay, these properties are all the way on the right hand side. They didn't bring it to the front. Like all these things, I get to understand, and I give them a time limit. I say, hey guys, in 1 minute or less, show me how you currently use HubSpot. And then from there, I'll then get all the information and guide them slowly to here's a better way of doing things.
Yeah, super important. It needs to be personalized enough that they feel like they can take an action around it, right? I know this is more going into like training tactics and tricks and stuff, and making sure that people retain that stuff. It's a little bit of that, but it's more about guys, like one-off calls or one-off meetings. They forget about 70%.
Doesn't stick. It's too much. It's too much information.
It's too much overwhelm. We get that all the time, right? Not only that as well. Like think about it in a business perspective, right? So if you have sales reps, say, positioned all around Australia or overseas, right? You organize them to come into one room, and there's 20 plus people, and you're trying to teach them on how to use HubSpot in one seating.
Oh boy.
It's a mammoth task, right? So you can do that, which will mean that if the other people, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying make sure that you prep them up to be able to do that one call with them. So what does that look like? We're like, hey guys, we're introducing HubSpot. FYI, I need you to connect, your LinkedIn. So send them some new videos to then show them how to do that. Okay, now that they're in, they're going to probably be a little curious in there anyway, right? And then, next thing you're like, hey, I'm going to show you how to use, how to create email templates once now you connected that, right? Here you go. And then, once you've done that, okay, great. I'm going to show you this. And you keep prompting them on how to use HubSpot.
Baby steps, bro.
Baby steps. And then you have the call at the end where like, okay, guys, now we're here. Does anyone else have questions around HubSpot? Now I'm going to show you how to utilize your HubSpot from start to finish, day by day for your role, right? So this is what it looks like. You know what I mean?
Phasing it out is absolutely important. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Man, there's a good stuff. Now, the other one that always comes into picture is too many systems that confuses the salespeople. I've heard this day in, day out from people. Like, they've got Google Keeps, they've got notepads, they've got Outlook for their calls, they use their mobile phone, they've got an office desk, they've got there's too much places to be able to put information in, right? And it's not a bad thing. It just, as a HubSpot, owner or business owner, if you're not getting the reports, it's not the fact that they're not doing it. They're doing it because, think about it. You can have a conversation. You can remember. I think about 7 to 10 people's names. If I ask you to give me 10 people's names, you'll be able to give me 10 people's names.
Oh boy!
Right?
Yep.
7 to 10 off the top of your head. You'll know who they are. The close friends. They'll stick with it. Your family, friends, bits and pieces. The moment it goes over 10, it's practically impossible to remember who you had the conversation with, when you had spoken to them, how to do this, how to that. So they have to keep that information somewhere. That's where HubSpot comes in, right? That's the reason why they're using it. And so if you have, depending on everyone's use cases, if you look at some form of integrations that brings people in, that be at, for example, someone's out on, a field day, and you're like, hey, someone says, hey, can you please, do you have a business card? You're like, here's my QR code business card. There's plenty of tools out there. They scan that tool then gets directly into HubSpot. The contact is created, a workflow shoots off, and sales rep sits on his desk, goes, what was that event that I attended to? Opens it up, and is like, oh yeah, there it is. Did I reach out to him? Oh yeah, it did. There was a workflow that went out, a sequence that went out, right? They don't have to do that. They can just focus on their relationship. Call it up and like, hey man, did you get my email? Hey, what's going on with this? It's been great meeting you. Just want to touch base with that. The other solution, which is, you go to an event, they give you a business card. What do you do with the business card?
It goes into an Excel sheet. It goes to an Excel spreadsheet, Semih.
If you're lucky.
You fill up your iPad.
If you're lucky, bro. If you're lucky. I've been in events, right, where they give the business card, and the guy walks out, throws in the bin on the way out.
Yeah. Oh my God, disrespect.
Right?
The disrespect, or just left in your suit pocket and it just never gets logged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, bro.
I
love talking about integrations as well. I mean, like the stuff that we alluded to earlier as well with your proposals, your invoices, having one place, which is, I guess, the whole proposition of HubSpot in the first place, is to get everything logged in one spot, so you don't have to jump between different softwares to achieve certain things. I was actually just talking with Message Media as well, with all of these new AI tools and all these kind of features that's going to be rolling out in the next couple of quarters. It's something that's very, very interesting. So even text messages, with the constant improvement, now they even have a conversation inbox for enterprise level and above. You'll have, again, one-stop shop where you can go back and forth and see, like in a chat history kind of UI, all the text messages, instead of actually jumping into another dashboard like on Message Media to actually look at all these conversations. It's right there in HubSpot, so you can toggle between your inbox, chat through there, and then update your deals directly in one system. So beautiful.
Yeah, man. I think it's just underestimated. If you can spend maybe 1 hour or 2 hours a week, just take a moment, take a step back, and look at how you can improve your sales reps processes in HubSpot, how it's gonna make a drastic impact on your bottom line. I can't stress that enough, dude. You know?
I mean, looking at this here, it makes me chuckle, actually. I can't wait to say this. It's like, I remember growing up, we had this massive TV, right? Then we have 3 or 5 different remotes. One remote's to turn the actual TV on, the other remote's for the DVD, the other one's for the Blu-ray, and oh my God, that is just a pain in the ass. So definitely, the having one remote to do everything, I love that so much.
Yeah, or your dad just takes up his phone and starts watching whatever he needs to watch on his phone, right?
Can you imagine the number of batteries you have to change? You're going to go change the batteries for every single one of these remotes.
Still happens.
My God.
Still happens. So what are some quick wins, Richie, that can start implementing straight off the bat within HubSpot?
I love this. I don't know if it's just me, but the moment I get a new project, the first thing I do is look for these quick wins. I don't know why. It's just something that it's just scratching in the back of my head, and I like to identify. And the moment I do, if it's something that it is in fact a quick win, I'll jump in there and recommend it off the bat. So, I mean, I know this is not sales related, but the first one I look at is marketing contacts. For some reason, I love looking at marketing contacts, especially if they're up in their limit. We're trying to resolve that. But back to sales. The one thing I've done actually quite a few times now actually is this whole lead qualification process. So I worked with a client where they were getting a bunch of leads from paid channels. So paid acquisition is the primary method in which the sales reps actually acquire leads and work through leads. And from the very moment I stepped into the portal, I noticed that up to 35% of their leads were actually outside of what they would deem as qualified. So again, depending on your industry, has got different metrics of this, but for them, let's just say it was location based. Okay, so leads come through, and of course, it's never perfect, right? You run ads. Your goal for this marketing team is of such. You want to just get numbers. Obviously, quality matters to a certain extent, but you can't stop human nature, right? So about 35% of them were unserviceable leads. The moment you just identify that, surfacing that to the team, in about 3 weeks or so, that feedback was given to the marketing team, and they actually dropped and slashed it more than half. So it's down to about 15% now. So that's already a quick win. Sales reps are no longer inundated with these leads. They are not going to pick up the phone call. They're not even going to progress in the first place. They're not even within their ideal customer profile. That's a quick win, and I'm so happy that we could identify that off the bat. Like, it's crazy.
Love that. It's so good because not only that as well, like they then feel, as a sales rep, then feels like, hey, things are happening in a HubSpot portal, right? Again, it doesn't have to be through us, but if things are happening in HubSpot portal, it's working for me, right? It's got my objective in there, and that's the key here. Is then that psychological win. It might be a quick win for us, be able to show that value, but then that psychological win for them, going, hey, things are actually happening. They then look forward to the next few wins, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's a really powerful one.
This one too literally saved them time. Like they were handling about like 50-ish new leads a day, and like most of them just didn't pick up the phone. They would spend time talking about, the grandfather, the grandmother, the things that are just not relevant at all. So definitely a quick win. Yeah,
a few things that I like to also do is like that. I don't know if you've seen these. They just create new pipelines every time they want to look at something independent of the main pipeline.
Oh boy, yes. yes. That kind of irks me a little bit. There's a time and place for sure, but not always.
And again, the reason why they're doing that is because there's a pain, there's a frustration point. They don't know how to solve it with HubSpot, right? It's not their fault. It's just that the system isn't right. So what we'll look for is like deal tags that goes, hey, okay, cool, like this is what needs to happen, right? I think you had a really good example where you did a whole bunch of like deal tags, then allowed them to oversee all their qualifications. What was that story again?
Yeah. So, man, deal tech, I for sure this could be another conversation, but a couple of things is, I think you and I being in HubSpot, we're quite visual, even though we work in workflows, so we're very visual. So I like colors, I like little prompts, I like little things like that. So deal tags is so underutilized because, again, what is the reason why they're creating different pipelines? Why? They just want a way to differentiate the type, the service, the thing that they're dealing with. So the easiest way to do that is just create a new pipeline. But we could still have one pipeline, but then have these little things that just bring to the surface what is it actually about. So number one, for example, I've got for a client that, for example, needs to tick off a bunch of to-do items before they're able to close something off. Okay, they need to acquire a particular piece of documentation. They need to do a checklist. They need to send approval to somewhere out there. Deal tags is a great way to just visually represent if this is not done. Well, it's red, obviously red, and the objective here is as you were to progress that deal across the pipeline, it's slowly turning from red to green, and the more stuff you get done, it turns green. Happy days, you can then close this off. So deal tags can be used in that simplistic manner, but it can also be a little bit more tactical stuff, which we won't go into now, but that's something we could do.
100%. I know we keep talking about this one, which always keeps coming up, is like, when someone drags something from one stage to another stage, they tend to forget to do some note in that because it requires an action. It's like, oh yeah, I did this like last week, forgot to put it into HubSpot. Let me just drag it to like, prepare proposal because, that's what I need to. When you do drag that, there's no context behind it. So quick win for me would be like, putting a conditional logic that says like snapshot or like next activity, and then it prompts the person to fill that information in. And then with a workflow, you get that and then put a note in HubSpot, right? I know it's
By the way, clients love
simple.
that. No, clients love that, man. Like I honestly, that's what you guys taught me, definitely for sure. And ever since I heard about that, I was like, oh damn, that makes sense. I implemented to a couple of clients. They loved it.
Yeah, and not only that as well, because if you're an Excel spreadsheet user, you want to see that Excel spreadsheet view of what's the next activity or what has happened, right? So if you put that in a table column, which you can customize, super quick win. Yeah, man.
Did you mention something about the Breeze app before to me?
Yeah, I think there's,
did, right?
Again, this is another quick win. Feel free to trial it out. I've been playing around with it. HubSpot's got a new app called Breeze. It's like a ChatGPT for mobile phone version. Download it, log into that Breeze. You can then ask it things on your phone. So again, this is a really good way to then say, hey, I'm gonna head off to a meeting. When was the last time I had a chat with someone? Boom, like a text message. It reads the data in your HubSpot, then spits it out.
No way.
It's exactly like, it's your Google Assistant. Sorry, it's your Breeze Assistant that lives in HubSpot on your phone as a chat option, right? So super powerful tool. I've been also, just on a side note, and I do get excited about this stuff, is like you can also get it to do certain tasks. Now, caveat, probably worthwhile, maybe, putting, testing it out. It might work for you, might not. You can be like, hey, can you log a note against this person's name? I just met with them. We talked about X, Y, Z. Press send, and then it tends to do it sometimes here and there. It's probably going to get better anyway. There you go. All right, Richie, I think that's the end of it. So we covered a fair bit of content. So these are the pain points that we covered for sales reps. Feel free to go and select the right ones. Now, in saying that, our featured feature is going to be HubSpot Sales Extension. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in our next episode.
Hell yeah. See ya.